Military to begin enforcing Trump's restrictions on transgender troops. The memo stipulates that a history of gender dysphoria would disqualify applicants to the military unless they have been stable in their biological sex for 36 months, are willing to abide by the rules for that sex, and have not transitioned and do not need to in the view of medical providers. Those who are already in the military or under contract to join before the start date will fall under the 2016A policy enacted by the Obama administration. That policy also allowed service members to change their gender marker in the military system and abide by uniform, grooming and facilities rules for their new identity. None of that is allowed under the new restrictions. Under the new policy, secretaries of the military services will be given latitude to grant exceptions to certain individuals, who would then be able to access medical care in accordance with the old policy. After consultations with my generals and military experts, please be advised that the United States government will not accept or allow transgender individuals to serve in any capacity in the U.S. military, Trump wrote at the time. Our military Democrats, who are hoping to reverse the ban criticized the Pentagon's decision to begin enforcing the measure. Anyone who is qualified and willing should be allowed to serve their country openly, House Armed Services Committee Chairman Adam Smith D. Washington said in a statement. Civil rights advocates said transgender individuals should be able to serve in the military like everyone else who meets the standards required for the job. Jennifer Levi, Transgender Rights Project Director at GLBTQ Legal Advocates and Defenders, called the Pentagon's enforcement of the new rules deeply immoral and deeply insulting to the many transgender troops who are bravely serving their country. Military leaders, medical experts, and the vast majority of the American public agree that our troops deserve gratitude and support, not a slap in the face based on bias and irrational fears, Levi said. Defense officials say they have no way of tracking the number of transgender forces in the military, but according to self-identification, they believe 9,000 individuals identify as transgender, about 1,000 of whom have been diagnosed with gender dysphoria. The rollout of the memo days before Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan is due to appear before the Senate Armed Services Committee on Thursday adds a level of tension to a testimony already expected to include hostile questions over Trump's decision to take Pentagon funds without congressional approval for a border wall. Shanahan, a former Boeing executive who is hoping to get the nod from Trump to replace Mattis, has testified before Congress only once before, during his confirmation hearing to become Deputy Secretary. The Pentagon's decision to press forward with implementing the new restrictions comes after several court cases challenged the measure, leading to injunctions that delayed implementation for months. But in January, allowed Trump's broad restrictions to go into effect. The legal battle attorneys for transgender service members in the federal case in Washington said in a filing Wednesday that the government's official order directing a change in the government's policy regarding transgender service members violates the injunction in this case. Defendants are disregarding both those interests and the authority of this court. They must not be because the Pentagon restrictions do not go into effect until April 12. The court proceedings theoretically could be resolved by then, though it would be a quick turnaround. If they progress past, transgender rights activists, meanwhile, have been urging the public to get behind the legislation proposed in Congress in a bid to override Trump's decision. We will continue our fight in the courts until the ban is permanently blocked, said Shannon Minter, legal director of the National Center for Lesbian Rights. We also strongly
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.